Hello, this is Chris number 2.
My name is Justin Sane.
We are Anti-Flag. You're watching MULATSCHAG, the only TV you really need.
You really need it.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Justin, I'm glad you're here today. It is said that sometimes on tour you get lost for a couple of hours.
Sometimes I do get lost.
Yeah. You're not getting interviewed by the NSA, are you?
Sometimes I am getting interviewed by them.
But only for a job.
Yeah.
They want to hire him. He's
Intelligence.
so he can go around and spy on Austria,
Spy
and
network.
Germany.
Mostly Austria, though.
Keep American enemies in check, you know?
Keep them at bay. It's important.
Since 2012, there is the ANTIFest. Tell us about it and what happens there exactly.
Antifest, we started last year, like you said, and it was basically us just realizing that we have been a band for a long time, and we've done a lot of really interesting things and a lot of cool things that are exciting to us, but there's still so much that we haven't done. And we came up with this idea to start a festival. And 2013 is actually our 20th anniversary as a band, so we wanted to do something extra special and kind of keep it going. And so this year we've taken Antifest to Germany. We're going to do it in Munich with ZSK and Strike Anywhere, who are some of our greatest friends as bands. And it's just an opportunity to play with friends and to do something that most bands don't get to do, and we're very excited to do it.
Yeah, it's a chance to celebrate our community too, and the things that are important to us. You know, to bring people together who believe in equal rights for all people and believe in protecting the planet and believe in the ideals of Antiflag, the idea that we see each other not as a color of skin or male or female or straight or gay, but that we actually see each other as human beings. And it's a chance for everyone to come together and have a great time and celebrate the fact that we have this community that works and fights to make these things a reality for all people.
Sounds really cool. You're supporting the TV show Democracy Now!, which broadcasts also on the station we are on.
Okay.
Is that how a good news show should be like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for all intents and purposes, Democracy Now! Is the most important news source that there is, you know, whether online or on TV stations like your own. It's tremendously difficult, especially in the United States, to get the information that Democracy Now! Broadcasts. And that's why whenever we meet people and they ask us, you know, where do you get your news from, the first place that we tell them is Democracy Now!
Yeah, and the role of the media is to be the watchdog of the powerful, because the media actually keep the powerful in check. They let the people know what politicians are up to and what they're trying to do. And the minute that the media are in bed with politicians is the minute that the media failed us. And we saw this in the run-up to the Iraq War. Most of the mainstream media, instead of questioning what George Bush wanted to do in Iraq, they simply just would interview George Bush by repeating everything he said. They never confronted him and said, well, why do you want to do this? Why is this a threat? You know, and a news program like Democracy Now! Actually did that. And, you know, Democracy Now! Actually had on guests who said there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And they were right. And, where the mainstream media never did that. And that's why a news program like Democracy Now! Is so important. They confront politicians, they confront people with a lot of power, and make sure that the things that they're saying are true.
The government in Greece just shut down public broadcasting. What's your opinion?
Well, I think that anytime you shut down any voice, it's tremendously against what we believe. We think that all people, no matter how small their voice, deserve a say. And it's just a further example of government trying to crack down on people that are questioning their power.
In 2009, you supported spontaneously students' protests in Vienna.
Yeah.
Looking at the world today with protests on the streets everywhere, don't you sometimes think like, I don't know, damn, where should we go next or where should we go first?
I think that on some level, yeah. I mean, some level, you wake up in the morning and you go like, what's it all? Why? Like, why? You know, are we making any progress? But then you go to something like the students' protests that were happening in Vienna, and you see that there are a tremendous amount of people that care about the world more than they care about themselves, and care about others more than they care about themselves. And that's a very inspiring thing. So especially in the work that we get to do, where we get to play music, we'll play a festival today, we'll talk about standing against racism and standing against sexism and homophobia and things that we believe are the opposite of how people should act. And we'll meet so many people today that agree with that, and that's tremendously inspiring to keep going and to continue doing the things that we're doing and the work such as the student protests that happen in Vienna.
And of course, you know, if people don't raise their voice, nothing will change. And it's, you know, what we have learned over the years of being involved with activism is that it takes many, many battles to have a victory. You know, you fight and you lose, you fight and you lose, you fight and you lose, you fight and then you win one. And when you win, it's very important, but it takes time. And it's important for people not to get frustrated and for people not to give up, because change does eventually come, but it takes a lot of work. And, you know, and for that reason, I applaud all those people, whether it's the people who started Occupy Wall Street or the people protesting with the student protests in Vienna, or right now you see in Turkey or Greece and Spain, all over the world. And it takes a lot of courage. It's really, really special what they're doing.
Something completely different. How many people have you met so far with a Gunstar tattoo?
Oh, jeez. I wish
2,495 million.
I met, yeah. A lot of people have it, and it's always shocking when we see it. You know, I remember when I got it. I probably was the first one.
You probably were. Yeah.
But
yeah, trendsetter.
But it's definitely like, you know, I want to be like, where was your mom?
Didn't your mom tell you not to get tattoos?
But yeah, it's really humbling, and it's not necessarily about the band, you know. And I think that's one of the cool things about the symbol and you know, the fact that we've adopted it as a logo. It's far more about a message of peace, and so I feel like sometimes people will get a band tattoo and no longer like the band and regret that, but you can get this as a tattoo, and you know, if you regret getting a symbol of peace on your body, then you know you got bigger problems.
Do you all have this tattoo from the band?
I'm the only one. No,
yeah.
Pat, Chris, and Justin, none of them have tattoos. I'm the only one. Yeah. I have enough for all of us.
We don't like to do what other people do. We're punks.
Yeah.
You know, you can't tell us what to do. I will say though that you know, when I meet somebody with a tattoo, it really is inspirational, because it says to me that they were able to really relate to something that we had to say. And that's such a special thing, to know that there are people all over the world who, you know, have a same kind of feeling and believe in something that you believe in so passionately. And I always see that as a real honor.
You guys are from Pittsburgh, the Steel City.
Right.
How much did that affect your music and your views?
I think a tremendous amount. You know, I think that Pittsburgh as a whole is a very politicized city because of the steel mills, and the fact that all of us in the band have someone in our family who had a job, planned on working there their whole lives, and then they shipped that factory overseas, and we saw the way government legislation allowed these companies to just move wherever they wanted so that they could make more money and, you know, essentially put people out on their own. And for a very long time, Pittsburgh was dormant almost. Like there was no work there. There was no one coming into the city. And it was up until, you know, they had the universities and a new kind of push towards, you know, whether it be technological advancements or the hospitals that we have there. It took a very long time to get any industry back into Pittsburgh. And I think that's why you see so many bands come out of Pittsburgh, like Rotten or Anti-Flag, that are political punk rock bands.
And it's also that, you know, what we saw were corporations taking actions with the help of government that ultimately would hurt everyone. Not just the people in Pittsburgh where they took the factories from, but also the people where they shipped the factories to. Because ultimately what they're trying to do is undermine labor. They're trying to pay people less for work. And they're doing everything they can to maximize the profit of corporations for corporate CEOs, really, at the expense of everyone, whether it was the workers in Pittsburgh or the workers in Mexico, maybe where they sent the factories, or the workers in China. And so ultimately that became a really important message for Anti-Flag to put forward, the idea that people are much more important than profit. And the thing that we have to look at first is what is good for people, not what is good for corporate profit.
Do you think in the foreseeable future there could be a worldwide revolution, and how would you picture it?
I mean, I think we're in the midst of it. I mean, whether it's the Occupy movement, which one of the things that I think is very beautiful about the Occupy movement, and they've kind of adopted this in Turkey, it's this idea that we're going to be here. We're not trying to change one thing. We're going to be here until this paradigm shifts and until we are focusing on humanity, not just saying, we're going to sit here until this place closes down, or we're going to sit here until you're allowed to wear a different colored shirt in school. It's about a much larger idea. And I think that's the next revolution. It's a humanitarian revolution. And that's something that we are definitely behind. And I don't know what it will look like. I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetime. I certainly don't believe, and this is akin to what you were saying earlier, like, what do you think about waking up and feeling like we're not making any progress? But I don't want, it's not about Anti-Flag writing a song and changing the world. It's not about looking in the dictionary next to the word revolution and seeing one of our faces there, We don't care when or how it happens, or necessarily what it even looks like, as long as it does happen, and as long as most people, when you talk to them and you meet them and you say, would you rather care about the person next to you or throw them under the bus, 9 times out of 10 people want to take care of that person next to them. And it's these ridiculous policies that we have enacted around us that keep us on this cycle, and something is going to break it. We're trying our best to throw some wrenches in the cogs of that as well. MULATSCHAG!